you ever have a decision to make in life and you just really don't know what to do? You don't know where to go. You don't know where to turn. Sometimes I wish that life was real easy and every time you had a decision like that, all you have to do is look at a sign, kind of like this one, and there'd be an arrow like that, and you go, oh, I go that way, or oh, I do that, and it would be that easy. I often wonder that with God too. Like, why doesn't God just go, hey, here's your arrow, go that way, do this? Uh, but is that how God always works? Does God work in big ways and obvious ways? Well, that's the story that we're going to talk about today. So today's story is about a guy named Elijah. Elijah was a prophet, a messenger of God in the Old Testament. You can read about this story in the book of First Kings in the Old Testament of the Bible. Um, Elijah was having a tough time and he really didn't know what to do next. And so he went on this long journey, long story short, and went on this journey and found himself in a cave and knew that God wanted to talk to him at that place. And so he gets himself ready, and God is about to show up, and he's expecting, I think, big things. Like God's going to talk to him in these huge ways. And so all this stuff starts to happen. There's like an earthquake and a big wind and a fire and things like that. And all these big things start to happen at this cave. But the Bible says that God wasn't in any of those things. Now, you might have thought, well, if God shows up, he's going to show up huge, and that's what I think Elijah did too, but he didn't. It says that when Elijah then went to the entrance of the cave, God spoke to him in a whisper. In a whisper. You would have thought God would have gone big, but he didn't. He went with a whisper. And I think that's a lot of times how God speaks to us. In a whisper, quietly, in small ways. When God has spoken to me in my life, it's typically not been in huge ways. I've never heard a voice. I've never seen, flash of lightning and then wham, there's my message or anything like that. God tends to speak in smaller ways. He tends to speak through things like a Bible, reading that. He speaks through other people to me sometimes at just the right moment when I needed to hear something. It's like somebody shows up in my life and talks to me. He speaks to me and through people at church. He speaks to me through some of you guys at an FCA meeting or at After the Bell. And I think God works in those smaller ways. Why does he do that? Because I think he wants us to pay attention. I think he wants us not to be looking for, some grand thing to happen. He's wanting us to always be paying attention and looking for the little ways in which he speaks. It keeps our minds focused more on him than if we're just looking for big stuff and big stuff only. God likes those little ways, and I think he wants to speak to each and every one of us like that. So I hope you pay attention to the small ways that God might be speaking to you. And I hope you draw close to him, because above all, I think that's what he wants more than anything, to be close to us. The God of the universe wants to be close to us. That is incredible. Thanks for joining us today. Like and subscribe and share this with your friends, and we'll see you next time.